spirit of David Lynch is alive and well in 2026 because 20-year-old Kane Parsons' Backrooms is one of the bigger swings of the year, and in my opinion, it largely connects. Backrooms on paper is a simple story about a patient named Clark, played by the woefully underused Chiwetel Ejiofor, and his therapist Mary, played by the spectacular Renata Reinsve. Each of these characters have their own issues, but they're dealing with those issues in very different ways, and that will be revealed throughout the course of the film. We get a sense of Clark's psyche, their dynamic as a patient and a healer, then we get a glimpse into Clark's everyday life. A failed architect who runs a quiet, seemingly often deserted furniture store called Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire. We get a sense with Clark there's a lot boiling under the surface. He was kicked out of his home by his wife, who he seems to at least be emotionally abusing. He now essentially lives at this furniture store, and he's an alcoholic as well. Mary is someone who was raised by a reclusive mother with a fractured psyche who may have had an experience with the Backrooms herself. Just like Clark can't let go of being kicked out of his home, Mary can't quite let go of her past either. While Clark abuses alcohol, Mary turns to prescription drugs, but on the surface has it all together and at least pours her time and energy into trying to help other people. Dynamic sets the stage for a film that will see both of them at various points enter the Backrooms. This film will make everyone feel a different way. To me, the Backrooms almost present themselves to Clark when he is at his lowest. I see this as a manifestation of anxiety and depression. Clark is an architect who dreams of design, who has this existence where he's selling furniture to people who are furnishing buildings designed by someone else. Also a man responsible for fracturing his own family life, and then he has this job where he watches all these new couples come in to furnish their first homes. The architect will be presented with a space that he can map and draw, he can endlessly explore, he can lose himself, and he can be comfortable with his existence. The space itself is anything but comfortable, and that space is what Parsons pulls the audience headfirst into. With the sickly yellow, the fluorescent light, the ugly designs, the lack of beauty, I think we see so many of the monotonous spaces where we spend so much of our life reflected here. It would be a school, a hospital, a shopping mall, or an office building where you work a 9 to 5, any type of situation that could feel like an insurmountable, terrifying maze when you are struggling. Clark's journey through the Backrooms feels like being in an art exhibit where nothing is quite right, but everything will make you think, or feels like being at a Lynchian museum. As Clark goes deeper and the images get darker, I think these ideas around depression work even more. We see piles of clothing, we see representations of a holiday that might be incredibly cheery but can become something terrifying. Backrooms start to feel like this representation of stillness in life, of being lost, of rot and decay. Can't quite tell you how good Chiwetel actually is. I think this is a very solid movie, but so much of it is reliant on this man and on Renata Reinsve. Kane and A24 entrusted so much of this film to them. With lesser actors, this film would be a much lesser film. It's a lot about how they react, their facial expressions, their physicality. It is spectacular work. This is not surprising. I think Chiwetel was in one of the better movies of last year, The Life of Chuck. His first segment was filled with so much existential dread, but it was incredibly beautiful. I thought this was wonderful work. Feel here like you're watching someone who is admittedly not likable at all go down a drain, and it's still difficult to watch. Throughout the film, he will sort of pull others down that drain with him. Clark's journey into the Backrooms is somewhat slow. It's a lot of exploration, kind of trusting the audience to enjoy that experience. When Mary goes in, it really picks up in terms of the horror and intensity. Kane's able to craft a sequence there that to me is an homage to David Lynch. If you like Lynch's stuff, I think you'll see that influence, and I think he absolutely nails it. It's powerful stuff, especially from Ejiofor, but from Reinsve as well, and it's followed by a chase sequence that is also phenomenal. We'll say after that, I think the film doesn't 100% stick the landing. I think the last 15 minutes or so sort of fizzle out, but it does present you with some interesting ideas, and there is a path forward if they would like. We'll say it's also a film that relies on some exposition, some voiceover to drive home some of the emotional points. If I could change one big thing about the film, it would be the score. The music for me consistently did not work. I think if you're going to have an experience like this where you're kind of going through this haunted house, you have to have perfect ambiance, and I think the music for me personally was not really hitting. It did have some good moments, and I would say it wasn't overwhelmingly distracting or poor, but it just wasn't quite right for me. All that being said, this was a huge risk. This could have gone so poorly in so many different ways, and this was a massive undertaking for a young director. He did a wonderful job, and like I said, there are shades of David Lynch here. I think there are shades of Stanley Kubrick here. Really unsettling stuff here. Also some great dark humor, or at least stuff that I found funny. The theater in general was very quiet, very locked in. It was absolutely full. The film made, I believe, $10 million last night. They made it for $10 million. This is a film I think you should take in the theater. I don't think it's perfect, but it doesn't have to be. There's going to be some weird comparisons with this film. I already see it getting compared to this and that. You don't have to do that. This is its own thing. I think Kane owes a whole lot to his 2 stars. It was great casting. He did a phenomenal job. 3.5 out of 5 for me. Go see Backrooms.